Okay, I gotta moisturize.
Let's dive right into the topic today because we want to explore dating on Princeton's campus in broad terms, but like as all Black people sitting here discussing, I want to get into like the racial dynamics within that. So there have been a lot of like match services, I guess is what I would call them, going around in these past few months. So I'd love like if any of you have like personal experiences with those or have heard experiences that are noteworthy, we'd love to go around and like share those, and then also opening up to like just Tinder, Bumble, online dating services more broadly, and like what is the environment like for everyone, but also specifically for Black people, and even more specifically for Black women.
Perfect. I think just like starting off, I filled out the marriage pact simply because I was curious. I was like, might as well. Why not? And like my person was like fine. Like I did friends, so I matched with this girl and I was like, oh, she seems fun. And like we followed each other on Instagram and nothing happened. I was like, yep, oh well, Instagram follower. But the night I found out, I was at dinner with some friends in town, like at their house. And it was me, another Black girl in my class, and then two Black girl seniors. And we all found out at the same time. And the other girl in my class didn't fill it out, but the other two seniors did. And one of them was like in shambles over her match because it was like a notorious like racist. She was like, why? And I was like, oh, they did no screening. I was like, this is what happens when the algorithm just goes, because like, how could you match a Black girl with someone who's like notoriously messy and like notoriously racist? I don't know him at all personally. I'd never heard his name before, but she was like, he's the worst. Oh my God, super messy guy. I was like, oh, cute. Yeah. I feel like of the kind of services we've seen, I feel like the marriage pact had like the lowest success rate. I do not know a single person that was more than mediocre, kind of more than like okay with their match. No one that was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like on the whole, I heard it sucked. Like they matched the twin brothers together. Like it was, yeah.
Oh yeah, they did, Aisha.
No, they matched.
Please what?
Because they both did it. Like I think they both matched. They matched with each other fully. And they were just like,
okay then.
All right.
Even physically.
Yeah. Did anyone else use marriage pact? Did anyone else fill it out?
I didn't really think it was open to graduate students, so I didn't. But like from the outside looking in, it was interesting. But I did kind of expect the same thing, same old that you see with dating apps. Like I don't know, I was like, I don't know, I've been on dating apps since 2013. Dated myself, but like, you know, it and the wheel keeps turning. So I was like, I'm gonna wait and see how y'all feel about this. It was really cute in the Black Princeton group me where everyone's like, you should sign up for this, try this out, see what happens. I was like, babies, I don't know what to tell y'all, but they about to throw y'all a curveball. And then just seeing all of the like, I got matched with a racist. I have like a success rate or a match rate of like 0.5%. I'm like, that's not a match. That's barely a friend. Like that's embarrassing. like who's greenlighting this algorithm? I'm like, interesting.
I won't lie. Oh.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say no, for real. I was actually fortunate enough to get matched with a Black man, so like that was good. But nothing came out of it, and I actually wasn't expecting anything out of it anyways. But it was just that was one of my biggest worries, just like getting matched with someone who is, you know. So yeah, Black man, yay.
Sometimes.
But that part, Justice.
Yeah, sometimes.
It's funny. Like, I'm glad Justice brought up the group chat, because I won't lie. When the Black Princeton group me gets going, it is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
I was in, like, the four of us at dinner were in tears looking at people's like results come in, because like every worst case scenario happened. Like I remember one girl, like, love her to pieces. She got like a 0.017 match. I was like, girl, it's like, free my girl. And like people were mad.
Oh, sorry. No, I just want to know who thought it was okay to match these people who are getting.
Right. That's not a match. That's an enemy.
Like, it's not. Honestly.
Yeah. No, literally. And I think we want to move on. Aisha has a question on like racial preference, but I'm interested to know like whether it was even a possibility for them to like include that variable, because I think that like obviously it's a complex conversation around like for whom those preferences are valid, and I think that like white programmers or like whoever is putting this together would be very apprehensive to like include that variable. So yeah, but Aisha, do you want to move us into that section, because I think that could be a really interesting.
Yeah. So this question, I'm gonna kind of smush it around a little bit, but basically, we're wondering like, are racial preferences valid for which social groups, and also like, do you feel like have you ever experienced someone like sort of telling you their racial preference and it hasn't like been you, or like some sort of like weird situation like that? Because I really want to know the tea. Like I really want to hear it. So are racial preferences valid, and like do you have any experience with people telling you about theirs?
So I have two answers to this question. So first, I think for me, like me personally, I don't really have a racial preference. I like grew up in a pretty white area, and so I was like, if I'm gonna start narrowing down to race, I'm gonna start narrowing down to 3 people. So there's no option. Like I was like, that's a non-issue. Like I can't afford to have a race preference, because I'm like, I'm gonna run out of people. Point blank. Black in the Midwest, there are 4 of us. I'm related to 3 of them.
Wait, where are you from? Where are you from in the Midwest? I'm
I'm
just
from
curious.
Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, I'm from Michigan.
No way. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know my pain.
Yes, I do.
I'm like, I'm gonna run out of people. So yeah, but I think race preferences, I'm not gonna say that they're valid, but I'm gonna say if this is what I think. I think that a lot of people that have race preferences don't interrogate the reasons why they have them, and that's why they look stupid as hell. Because I'm like, if you have a race preference and you can somehow sleep at night knowing whatever reason it, like you really have thought about, I prefer this, this, and this because of this, this, and this, like you can actually lay it out to yourself and like understand it, then I'm like, I mean, like, I guess, like, whatever, free society, live your life. But a lot of the people that have race preferences, I'm like, why? And they're like, I just think they're prettier. I'm like, but why? And it's not just they're pretty, because there's pretty, like pretty girls, pretty boys, and all skin tones. That ugly has no race. So, and you're not just posting the pretty girls, you're only posting the light-skinned pretty girls. So like, let's figure that out. Like, it's funny. I posted something on my Instagram a while back, and this boy from my high school who was like, no, like dark-skinned guy, but like notoriously only dated light-skinned girls or white girls. He had always, like, every time Zendaya would post on Instagram, he'd repost it. And I'd be like, she's a baddie. I'll give her the points. You know, I love Zendaya too, but like anything else, anything. No duckies, no aduts, no winnies, just okay. And so I posted something on my story basically being like, a lot of men like black women that just look like Zendaya. You just colorist. And he was like, he said, like, he slid up and sent a little like frowny face. And I was like, fell into the trap. Got you. And so I was like, why do you only like, I didn't like pull up high school because like I don't like him. He's shorter than me anyway. Like, but I was like, why do you only like girls like Zendaya? I was like, Zendaya's not the standard. Like, she's beautiful, but she's not the only beauty standard. And I was like, why just her? And he's like, I just think she's bad. I'm like, she is. That's a sentence. You're right. But like, that's the only girl you ever post. And I don't think you're attractive. But if someone does, and you only post girls that look like Zendaya, they're going to just remove themselves from the running entirely. Because they know what you like. Even if you say, I like all girls, you know, I like pretty girls, you only post girls that are like sand and higher. Like, that's it. And so that's like my whole anger around race preference, or like kind of color preferences and race preferences. It's like, you say you like anything, but your actions don't match your words. Because if you say that you like pretty girls of all colors, but only post light-skinned and white girls, you're just a liar. So I don't know, that's my answer, but it makes me mad as hell. And it's always the darkest guys that only post the light-skinned girls. That's what, like, he's darker than me. And I'm like, I'm pretty dark skinned. I'm like, why are you darker than me? Only posting light-skinned girls. Your mama ain't that color. Your cousins aren't that color. Why? What's not clicking? What the hell? I don't know. That's my answer.
Like, I just want to echo everything you just said, because even in the queer community, it's almost worse because people feel justified in saying this shit. Like, it's like they feel justified in being like, well, I just like Asian dudes because X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, you sound racist, fetishizing shit. That's not cute. That's not a reason. That's you. And it's exactly as you said, like, if you don't interrogate why you feel this way, you probably just can't sleep with it. You can't settle with it. You can't say to yourself, I am just weird. I fetishize this group of people for their bodies, their like whatever it may be. And I just don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to feel like a racist. And I'm like, say it with your whole ass chest. And that's where I am at this point. Like, say it with your whole ass chest. I don't care
Say
if
it
you
with
don't
your
like
chest
black
or
people.
don't say anything at all.
Exactly. I don't care if you don't like black people. That don't got shit to do with me. I'm gonna find somebody who will appreciate me.
Right.
But you can at least say it. Like, just tell me. Like, if you're like, I'm just not, I'm like, okay, you're racist as fuck. Deal with it. Accept that label. Let's move on. Because I certainly will.
That's a great point. And I just wanted to circle back to something that you mentioned, Camille, about Zendaya. And I think that we all know there's people who will repost literally anything that she posts on her Instagram feed. And I want to interrogate with you guys, like, why the beauty standard at this point in time seems to be like the Zendaya, FK Twigs, Zoe Isabel Kravitz. Because there's just so much colorism and featureism in that. But there's also this strange fascination with like mixed race women in particular, because like they do have that like the attractive part of that like exotic piece, but like they still obviously come to you with like all of the features and fundamentals of white beauty. So I don't know, I just wanted to tease that out with you guys and like get your thoughts on where that comes from and how insidious it is within the imagination and desires of Black men and white men.
This is something I've been like struggling to think about a lot, just because well, yeah, just life and race and everything. But I think I've come to the conclusion that it's because like mixed race women in theory have the features of like both white women and black women that create like the perfect combination, like the ideal body type is like the big butt, like slim waist kind of thing, where is like prominent on black women, but then they have the lighter features, the straighter nose, all that.
I feel like this is also inherently tied to like, especially like kind of with mixed women, the masculinization of black women. Because like I know it's something I've had to deal with a lot. Like I'm 6 feet tall, I'm skinny-ish. And like I've always been like I had such a distinct memory. Like I teach in my free time and I've really had kids be like, you're tall like a man. I'm like, okay, first of all, ow. No, 7-year-olds just word in the mouth. But it's kind of like it's something I really more and more worry about in the dating world, because it's like I want to feel feminine, I want to feel cute and pretty and like frilly and all that thing, and I'm like, a lot of the black men and like men in general don't want to date a girl that is going to be height adjacent, let alone someone who's outspoken, confident, bold, annoying, cocky, all the things that I am. So it's something, but I think that when you like kind of these examples of like Zendaya and it's about like Zoe Kravitz, like they're all outspoken, but kind of in a way that's like permissible. Like they've kind of like they've assimilated to whiteness enough that they're allowed to be outspoken. They're allowed to be confident. They're allowed to be cocky because they're like, we're giving you what you want over here. So you're going to kind of, it's like kind of like a give and take. I don't know. That's something that's kind of just more and more struck me, especially like as much like I do literally live, breathe, die Megan Thee Stallion. And she has kind of her struggles with being masculinized by the media. I have very much not internalized, but kind of like watched happen to her, because she is like, in my opinion, literally like perfect. Like Megan is literally flawless. And so seeing the media eat her alive for like being 5'10" and curvy, I'm like, oh, that's what you're gonna do to her. What y'all gonna do to me?
I agree with you. I kind of like throughout my years of like dealing with this and trying to figure out, even in the queer community, like it's like it's what I call the spice of life. They want the spice of blackness. They don't necessarily want the black people. They want the people who kind of can portray that idea of blackness or whatever they feel like that is. And typically that's just sexualization. Like they just kind of want someone that they can have that sexualized feeling from. Like when it comes from like for as I've noticed for black women, it's typically like it's always something negative. Like, you don't hear those things until they're trying to demean you. And like, it's either they're trying to demean you or they're trying to weirdly sexualize you. And it's just like, you don't see that on these like lighter skinned mixed race people, just because I think they're like coded as white until they start to act up, and then people start to like, oh, this must be where that comes from. This is that side of you. Like, no, honey, it's all there. I don't know why you feel like that's the case. And I do agree with you in that, like, it's strange because like taking notice of it and being like, that's weird to me, because I agree with you. Megan's literally perfect. I don't understand how people like will go out anywhere between like questioning her gender identity to like her like masculinizing her, and I'm just like, this is all just misogynoir, and y'all are just fucking stupid. Y'all won't let this lady live her life. And as far as like queerness goes, I see this a lot when people are just kind of like, they like want the like racially ambiguous light-skinned man who like look like he's literally gonna come down out of heaven on like a cloud with like perfect muscles and like can I just speak candidly, like, you know, inappropriately if I have to, a dick shaped like a tree trunk, you know, like they want all this sort of like, they want what they view as the masculinized and overly sexualized elements of blackness, but they don't want you. They don't want you as a black person. I've felt and had that pushed onto me by a lot of queer people of like, I don't want you. I like the fact that you talk like a white person. You have like similar interests to me as like a white person or a non-black person. I like that you like all these things, but when you start to talk like this and you like, you know, that slang, that drawl comes out because your parents are from the South. I don't quite like that. That's kind of weird to me. Don't talk like that in front of my parents. Or like, I don't know if how my parents will feel about that.
Do you have anything to add, Dusu, before we move on from?
Yeah.
No, I just fully echo all of that. Like,
Yeah.
literally just everything, especially what Camille said, because yeah, we just relate being Black women.
I really wanted to get us talking about it's not actually the inverse of like this colorism and this like racism in dating, but it's the superficial inverse of that, which is this new like TikTok trend and like online trend of like melanin goddess, like these white men who will pull up on these videos and commit fetishization, but like in their eyes seem to be doing something radical and accepting Black beauty. So first of all, like I'm so disgusted every time I see one of those. I don't know about the rest of you, but let's break it down. I think, again, insulting that they think that Black women are incapable of differentiating between admiration and fetishization, but it's also just freaking creepy. Like the language that's used to talk about Black women, and this also extends, like, as a mixed race person, this extends a lot into when people talk about biracial people, but like these food metaphors, these drink metaphors need to stop. We need to get rid of them completely. If the hot chocolate, like the Oreo, like the chocolate swirl.
I have said it from the beginning. If you're describing me with a word I can find on a Starbucks menu, I'm going to block your number.
Literally. Do they think we like it though? That's my question. Like, do they think we're like going to be like, oh my God, yes, you just called me a chocolate swirl? Like,
it's because they want to consume you too.
Nope.
Like literally, it's just like they just want to consume you as well. I mean, like, we'd be lying if we didn't say that Black culture makes that shit go around. I mean, like, TikTok, half of it's that. Like, and half the people creating shit are Black women. So of course they're gonna be like, let me, for the clout, just be like, my Nubian goddess, my chocolate, like man, shut up.
Stop.
Like man, shut up. You don't like, you wouldn't know what to do. Like, not in any like bad sense, but like in the sense of like, you wouldn't even know how to interact with a Black woman who cared about herself. Like the people you're trying to like pine after, would you know what to do? Would you even know how to? You wouldn't say hello and get past the first sentence. She'd laugh at you, and I'd laugh with her. It'd be so funny. Like, I imagine my sister, whenever these people do this, I'm like, she'd crack the fuck up. Like, oh, that was cute.
Like,
no.
It's the clout chasing for me.
No,
it's the clout chasing.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, wait, I don't know if Dusu wants to talk about it, but like, the thing about TikTok is TikTok clout is so weird in that you'll be famous for like 2 to 3 business minutes. Like, it's so fast. And so people will jump on whatever they want to do. And so the worst part about the fetishization videos, like the white men that are like, oh my God. And the weird thing is they always look like, this might be specific, but like, you know that picture of Vision that went viral, Vishawn? You know him? All the white men look like that. That's what they all look like. And I'm always like,
Got
Okay.
the rags on for
Don't
God knows
do
what
Rashawn
reason.
like that, because Rashawn looks good.
Rashawn does look good.
Leave Sean alone. But all the white men look like that. And then on top of that, the worst part is when I open the comment section and all the black girls are like, yes. I'm like, Queen, free yourself. Free yourself. Bestie, free yourself.
Cut the chain.
No, because it's always like, they're always like, oh my God, love me, like, love my gingers, love my blondes. I'm like, huh? Like every time. And I'm like, that's the worst part. Cause I'm like, the reaffirming is going, because I'm like, a lot of y'all doing this because you don't know better. But if some impressionable black girl, especially like kids, because TikTok is not a kids app anymore, but legally it still is. I'm like, if some 13-year-old black girl, if me in 8th grade were to look at these videos and see all the comments of the black girls hyping him up for doing not even the bare minimum, it's lower than the bare minimum. I don't know how I would feel, because like 8th grade, a lot of black girls aren't getting, especially little black girls, not getting the love they deserve. So if you kind of see the space that's something like masquerading as the love and attention and care you deserve, you fall in the honey trap. And like, that's the part that breaks my heart, is you have little, like, kind of teenage and like young girls, young black girls that are growing up in a very shite time to grow up as a black girl. And that's the part that makes me so upset about all of this. I'm like, y'all growing up and you don't know what a proper relationship, like, this is not a dynamic. This is not good, not healthy, because he's going to fetishize you for 2 to 3 business weeks and then move on.
Period. You're right. And then I know we kind of like passed this point, but I did want to say something about Meghan Markle, just because, like, first of all, the fact that she was even able to marry into the royal family is like mixed girl privilege. Okay, if there was like a dark skin, like a monoracial black woman, a very obviously black woman that was dating Prince Harry, and he brought her to Queen, she would have been like, you're playing jokes with me, like you're playing games, because I know you know that we're not going to allow you to marry this woman. Like, I just feel like, come on now, like it's very simple, it's very obvious, I think. And then I just feel like Meghan also knows this herself, I feel like, in some ways, because like, one, Meghan is like white passing, like she's pretty white passing, like I think some people didn't even know she was like half black at some point. And then she like straightens her hair, like Meghan, I'm pretty sure Meghan's hair, when she puts water on it, it doesn't look the way it looks when she has it out, right? So I feel like she straightens her hair because she understands, like, in some ways, the privilege that she's afforded as a mixed woman. And I feel like I don't necessarily like blame her for that, because like, sort of like, you just need to kind of like use what you have to like get as far as you can in life. But I just feel like we need to understand, like, Meghan has privilege as a mixed woman, and like that's the only reason she was even able to marry into the royal family. Like, I think it's unfortunate that she had to suffer all of that, but like the fact that she was able to do that is privilege in and of itself. And then I have a question for you guys.
Wait, actually, can we stop on that for a second?
Yeah.
Because as the mixed race person at the table, I think there's a really strong point that has to be made about the way that not acknowledging mixed race identity does harm. And I think there have been 2 huge missed opportunities with Obama and then with Kamala Harris again, where there's not enough nuance about the complexity of their racial identities, because, and like, when you miss that complexity, you then, I think you then end up not understanding the ways in which that path to the highest political office is still not accessible to the average Black person. So like, these examples of like mixed race success and like Meghan Markle becoming part of the royal family, like when we don't acknowledge the ways in which the privilege of their mixed heritage helps them, we set up this path to success that doesn't actually exist and isn't actually operative for most people. So yeah, I think like, you don't have to blame her necessarily, but I think it is important to call out like my fellow mixed race people within the Black community to always acknowledge the ways in which their experiences are different. Like, not the correct path is not for them to like shy away from that identity and like cling to whiteness and like project Blackness, but it is to like identify the ways in which their experiences are different and the ways in which they do have massive privileges. Yeah, so don't let them off too easy, Aishah.
Yeah, this is something that I've like talked about a lot with one of my mixed race friends, because when you don't acknowledge the complexity of like their identity, you have people like Zendaya, Yara Shahidi, and just all of them like representing all the Black community. And so then, like, I guess this is more of a Hollywood example, but yeah, like they're the ones who are getting the roles to play um like movies where the characters could be darker skinned women and everything. So yeah, like just not acknowledging the privilege that comes with lighter skin, and just as you said with Meghan Markle and even Obama, even though like he is a like a darker presenting person, it's just there was no way that they were gonna accept him the way they did.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think even like some movies, like okay, The Hate You Give, like she looks nothing like the rest of her family. First of all, anyways, and then in that movie Yara Shahidi was in, Son is also a star. She's supposed to be a dark skinned Jamaican girl. Yara Shahidi is none of those things, so it's not adding up. But the question I have for you guys is, are Republican men an automatic no, and why?
Yes, next question.
Yes, absolutely. Throw it in the trash.
Mm-mm.
Like
At
there's
this
so
point,
much
even
that you have to go through. So go
at this
ahead.
point, even moderate, I'm like,
Yep.
Yeah, if you're not liberal,
I'm like,
next caller.
yeah, 100%. Especially like Justice kind of vouched, like growing up in the Midwest, like from a state that went red in the past 2 elections. I've been fighting in the trenches with Republican boys since 8th grade history class. No, I'm done. I am. The last thing I want is to have those 8th grade history class debates over dinner. No. Mm-mm.
That part.
Yeah, especially
That part.
yes, exactly. And then for like the whole idea of like, oh, I'm only Republican because I like support this, that. Like I don't support like all these different things. But it's like the fact that you can even say that you support this because of that, and you're turning a blind eye to the other injustices that are going on, we
Mhm.
can't.
I think Camille's like, literally next question. But I just to like, I think add some complexity here. I'm just as skeptical, if not even more sometimes, of white liberals.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
I'm gonna be very honest. Like the example
Yes.
that always comes to mind is what happened with Amy Cooper in Central Park. Like there are so many like East Coast elite type liberals I know who will like be the first person to like, I don't know, spend $40 on kombucha for like some fundraiser like around like a racial issue. But then the moment when they have the capacity to weaponize their whiteness to protect themselves from some implicit bias threat that they perceive in a black person around them, they will be the first person to call the police. They will be the first person to endanger a black body. And I think it's more, the reason why it's scarier to me is because it's covert and because like I'm not able to then identify you as somebody who is unsafe and somebody who is part of the problem. You're accepted within the same circles as us, and we have conversations and we pretend that there's this kumbaya of like mutual understanding. But yeah, I'm incredibly skeptical.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree with that point. Like, I again, I know I keep throwing the gays under the bus, so I'm gonna keep doing it. Yeah, the white liberal, like a lot of white gays are sometimes secretly Republican, sometimes secretly liberal. It just depends. Like you'll figure it out. Um, and I said this before, but I have never dated a white person. I don't plan on it. The reason why is like I've had my time of like pursuing white folks, and it always comes up to this thing of like, oh, I don't talk about the news with my family. I'm like, the fuck if you don't, like
That
that's
one
not gonna
kills
happen.
me. That
Like,
one absolutely kills me. It's the way that they walk through the world that I don't think I'll ever understand. And I think that like it's a fallacy that if you have like some sort of marginalization that you're automatically gonna be able to relate to all of the people with any sort of marginalization because there's such different magnitude. But like white straight men who like I assume like some of you like the black women here like might be interested in like I don't understand. I've never personally on like a friendship level, much less a romantic level, been like able to connect with that experience of walking through the world where like you just don't you don't comprehend injustice because you've never had to face it.
Yes.
Like there's like an automatic ownership that I think is it takes so much time to build in like coming from our different perspectives. But like one thing I did want to note on that, and like Justice, you brought this up so many times, is like the way that homosexuality or being a woman in the case of white women, like those identities don't automatically absolve you, and don't automatically give you insight into a racialized experience. I guess it's very different, especially in 2021. I think like the white gay experience is not comparable in any way to what Black people still go through in this country. I mean, in America, like as a community, we're literally asking not to be shot arbitrarily on the streets. Like we're not at the point yet of talking about reparations, about talking about actually creating a path to economic success and equality. Like we're literally talking about let's at least try to create a society where I don't have a large chance of just being shot randomly. And I'm just going to try to wrap us up here because this has been a very fulsome conversation. Yeah, but I literally have had so much fun talking with you guys. I could do this all day if we had the time. But thank you guys so much. Like this literally appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you guys. Have a great weekend.